Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Programming Dunia. Today I am going to discuss about the clean architecture. In this video I will cover what is the clean architecture, how we can implement the clean architecture and what are the layers with detail. So firstly we can discuss about what is the clean architecture. Clean architecture is software design pattern that promote the separation of concern in the software development process. It encourages developers to organize their code into the distinct layers, each with its own responsibility and the dependency. So in the clean architecture, they define how we can separation of concern in the software development process, and also we can organize the layers, and each and every layer they have their own responsibility. In the clean architecture, we have four layers. They have a domain layer, application layer, infrastructure layer, and the presentation layer. It could be called the API in the presentation layer, anything we can speak. Okay. So here in the image, you can see we have a four layers. So each and every layer, they have their own responsibility in the dependency. Own responsibility means like what domain layer can touch and what are the dependency, like the domain layer dependent to the other layer or not. Okay, so in the example, we can easily understand like domain layer. They have their own responsibility. It could be anything, but there are no dependency of the other layer. There are no dependency of the application layer, infrastructure, and API layer. But if we talk about the application layer, they have a dependency of their domain layer and their own responsibility definitely. In the infrastructure layer, they have a dependency of the application, the domain layer. I will show you the example also where we can understand why they are going to dependent to or not. And the API, the presentation layer, which is going to expose to outside the world, which is going to depend on the infrastructure application, the domain layer. So this is the whole image of the clean architecture. I will show you how we can implement the clean architecture and also explain you what are the things we can do inside the each and every layer. So firstly, just I can go through the what are the layer can touch. Like first the domain layer. I told you there are no dependency on them, but they have their own responsibility. What is own responsibility? I will tell you. I will speak you on. So domain layer in the clean architecture contain the enterprising logic like entity specification. The core logic we can develop into the domain layer. It is the center of the architecture where we have an application entity, which can be the application model classes, anything on that part. So is it very clear what is the domain layer? Now we can move to the application layer. What is the application layer? This layer contain all application related logic. It's dependent on the domain layer but has no dependency of any other layer like infrastructure API. This layer defines the interface that implement by the outside the layer. For example, if application layer need to be access the notification service, yeah, need to be access the database. So in the application layer, they need to be access the notification service. Yeah, need to be application the database. They can so in the interface would be added to the application. Implement would be created in the infrastructure. So like interface will be part of the application layer, but definition would be part of the infrastructure layer. I will show you example also. The same things. The infrastructure layer, in this layer, contain the classes for external resources. It could be the file system, it could be the DB, it could be the database, web service, anything. It could be like external resources. These classes should be based on the interface defined in the application layer. So what are the interface we have defined to the application layer? We can implement to the infrastructure layer to access the outside the world. The presentation layer is simple. We can how we can export something from the outside the world. So this is the first layer. We are going to hit the data. Whenever we are going to hit the URL, then it will come to the API, the presentation layer. Then it will go to the application layer, then infrastructure and domain. Okay, I'll show you the example here. It could be more easy to understand. Okay, now we can see here, this is the web API. It could be the presentation layer. This is the infrastructure, domain, and application. So here, like we can discuss one by one. We can discuss like a domain layer, then move to the application infrastructure and API. Okay, so this is the domain layer. Here you can see there are no dependency of any other layer. Here, then I have not added any project related to the application, infrastructure, and presentation layer. So in the domain layer, what we have done here, like we have created the entity, the classes, the core classes we have represent here. We have defined the specification, anything we can put related to the domain, we can put it here. Now we can move to the application layer. What application does? So in the application, you can see like we have a more logic on that application related logic like validator, model, mapper, interface, handler, and exception. So these are the part of the application layer. Here you can see like we can go one by one. I will also go through the one. Here we can see like we have a handler. So in the handler we can put into the application layer, and we have also the interface like we are using the CQRS like command and query repository, but we have defined the interface here. Who is going to implement these interface? Going to implement it definitely the infrastructure layer, because infrastructure layer is only responsible to outside this component. So like external resources, so it could be the database, file system, Azure, AWS, anything. So here if you can move to the infrastructure layer. Okay, one more thing I want to display here, in the dependency in the project, this is the domain. So application layer going to depend on the domain layer. Okay, now we can move to the infrastructure layer. Firstly, we can see the dependency. Here you can see we are going to depend on the application layer and the domain layer, and the repository we are going to implement like EF core, whatever we can implement, but directly in the external system. So these are the interface existing to the application layer, implementation to the infrastructure layer. Now we can move to the topmost layer, that is called to the presentation layer, web API. So what we can do, this is the directly we are going to export from the outside the world, the employee controller. So once we are going to hit the URL, then it will go to the get method and add post method, whatever is that. Then after they are going to decide, it will go into the application layer, then infrastructure layer. I can show you one of example here. Like we want to get the data. So this is the presentation layer. Once it will get hit, then I'm going to call to the infrastructure layer. Then mediator, I'm going to send the command to the mediator, who will going to handle the get all employee query. So let's go to there. This is, it should be part of the application layer. Let's see. This is the get employee. Here you can see this is the get employee query. So it's a part of the application layer. We have defined the handler here. So we have a interface already existing to the application layer, which is going to implement the infrastructure layer. So here we can get the data of the employee. Then we are going to apply some validation, and it could be anything, the application logic. Then we can return data to the, again to the presentation layer, and the presentation layer is going to send the response to the perspective, so the to the browser. So this is the clean architecture we can implement. It's very simple, it's not much more complex. If you have any query, just let me know, I will try to figure out your query. So this is the layer structures and how we can implement, I can show you. Even also like even in the, I have already explained you the CQRS editor where also where I have used to the clean architecture. You can go through the any of them example where you can easily understand what is the clean architecture. Okay, so I think I have covered everything what I want to discuss today. So if you like my video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel.